My story is this. My name is Jim Fortin. I'm an author, speaker, trainer. I am a master hypnotist. I'm an NLP master practitioner. Who's heard of NLP? Pretty much everyone in the room, okay? Anyone had any formal training in NLP? Nina, the only one, okay. NLP was created back in the 70s by Richard Bandler and John Grinder, two university professors. What they did is they studied the most successful therapists in the United States, which would have been Virginia Satir, Fritz Perls, and Milton Erickson. And they said, how do you get results with your patients so quickly? They took all this information, distilled it down into mind models. What they discovered is that behavior is discernible. That means that people's behaviors fall into patterns. When you know people's patterns, you can then influence them because you know the patterns are going to run before they already run the pattern. It's kind of like the disc that you talked about. What did I say about you two at dinner last night? When we were talking, remember what we were talking about?
We need each other to balance each other out.
Well, they balance each other out because you're a D, right? And I just know this. I do it for a living. I'm watching him. He's very process oriented. He's very task oriented, very detail oriented. Walk your steps, right? Just get it done. And that's what showed up in your disc profile, right? Yeah. Yours was what? Yours wasn't that, was it?
No.
Hers was all relationship oriented, okay? So I know that when I'm selling them, and this is what I teach people how to do, I can actually profile them very quickly just by watching them and knowing how they are. As a matter of fact, he even had a new assistant, right? And what did you say about him, the exact word?
I said he was a machine.
He's a machine.
Yeah.
Is exactly the way he said it. So what does that tell me about him when he's talking like that?
He honors the machine.
He likes the machine, right? So we only do what we are. What does it tell me about him? He's a machine. That's why he sold 4 billion homes last year, or whatever it was last year.
Not 4 billion.
But he's a machine, okay? So people, I say breadcrumbs. They drop breadcrumbs all over the place. And they tell you exactly how to sell them. You just have to know how to read the breadcrumbs. They leave fingerprints all over the place. When you know how to read the fingerprints, it's like having a team's playbook. Somebody definitely had the Dallas Cowboys playbook this year, okay? But if you have a team's playbook, you know the play they're going to run before they run it, right? And that's the purpose of all of this information, is to significantly increase your conversion ratios by having their playbook, knowing the play they're going to run before they ever even run the play, and beating them to the punch. The second part here is, and I've worked for years as a hired speaker. I've worked with Donald Trump, Tony Robbins, George Foreman, Dr. Phil, and a host of others. I used to be the national spokesperson for a company called the Learning Annex out of New York City. But I'm also a master hypnotist. Anyone ever heard of anyone using hypnosis to stop smoking, lose weight, any of that? Okay? Yes? When I nod my head like this is the visual cue, okay? Yes. All right. I had a client years ago. I used to work in New York City. He was a vice president at Goldman Sachs. He came in to stop smoking. He called me a week later and said, I stopped smoking, and let me ask you, what did you do? What did you say? And I said, well, as a hypnotist, we use language patterns. There are certain things that we do to affect you unconsciously to help you get the desired behavior, the behavior that you want. And he said, can you teach me how to use these same patterns in business so that I can get better results with my clients? And I said, sure. So what I've done and what you're going to start learning today is many of the patterns that I used as a hypnotist to get people to do things, I now use them in business to what? To get people to do things. I use it for two things: to increase my conversion ratio very quickly, and to shorten my selling cycles. Okay? I've had people say they've increased their conversion ratios, as you'll discover for yourself, anywhere from 10 to 50%, and cut their selling cycles down anywhere from 10 to 50% when you start applying what you're going to learn today. Okay, common selling myths and mistakes that have been costing you bucks. First, and we're going to blow through these very quickly, and you'll understand every bit of this as we go through the presentation. First, selling to the wrong side of the brain. Which side of the brain buys? Left or right?
Right.
Right side of the brain buys. Not leading with suggestion. Not eliminating resistance. I have a great example I'm going to share with you the second part of the presentation about eliminating resistance. I mean, how many of you have ever thought, where do I really get resistance from my prospects and clients? And then, where does the resistance come from? And then, how do I overcome that resistance? not leveraging the difference between surface and deep structure communication, not engaging the part of the brain that buys, no influence strategy. What do you think I mean by that?
Well, you need a strategy to influence people. You have to know what objections you're going to deal with. You need to know how they buy. You have to have a strategy.
Yeah.
I want every word that I speak to work for me. So every word that I speak. Now, what I want to do is this. My strategy is, do I want to put them in a double bind, a single bind? Do I want to put them in a reverse bind? Do I want to use a positive association? Do I want to use a negative association? Do I want to move them towards something? Do I want to move them away from something? What do I want my words to do for me? Most people have no strategy. When their prospecting client says something, what do they do right back?
Respond.
Just respond out of their model of reality, not the prospects and clients' model of reality. We only buy our model of reality, which is a subjective, unconscious model of reality. And as a matter of fact, if I ask any of you what your model of reality is, you probably couldn't even tell me. See, research demonstrates that you buy, every one of you, me too, we buy, and we don't even know why we buy.